Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hop Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content I will be covering today will be in the sport of football inside the National Football League. If you guys haven't checked out episode 106, is now available on all four of our platforms: our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and dive into the bonus content today. Is it worth paying NFL running backs big contracts? In my opinion, it's not. Once upon a time, a few years ago, I would have said, yes, it's worth paying an Adrian Peterson to a monumental deal. It's worth paying a Jamal Charles to an absolute monumental deal. A LaShawn McCoy to a monumental deal. But nowadays in the National Football League, it is not worth paying NFL running backs big time contracts. And in today's poll that we had on our Instagram account, on our Facebook account, if you guys out there listening via Facebook or YouTube, and do not follow our Instagram account is on the Hop 08. You can go ahead and check us out. That's one of our platforms, like I just said a few moments ago. But today on our Instagram and Facebook polls, 61% of you guys believe it's worth paying NFL running backs to big time contracts if they are talented enough. And everybody's opinion matters. That's why we do these polls to see where you guys are at and the questions that we ask weekly to you guys to keep you guys afloat of what could potentially be a segment for the podcast. But 61% of you believe that is the case. If an NFL running back is talented enough, they deserve a big time contract. But in my opinion, if your name is not Derrick Henry in the National Football League, you are not worth a big contract. Now, there's talented backs out there in the National Football League. For example, like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, all three talented running backs but just have a problem of being healthy and have a reputation of missing valuable games in their respective careers. And so, in this past season, this is the first time that I can remember that Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley were both healthy for an entire season. But those three individual players have a history for missing a good chunk of games in their respective careers, and that is a reason why if you're paying if you're paying big money to NFL running back, I expect them to be healthy. I don't expect them to miss time. A big chunk of games in a 17, 18 game league, 18 game season in the National Football League. But to me, the span of running backs prime in the NFL right now is really averaging to 3 to 5 years before the decline starts in NFL running backs. Running backs are asked to do a lot in the offense. They have to block. They have to pass protect block when a quarterback drops back in the pocket. And if they're asked to if they're not running a route, they're asked to pass protect block. Some of the times they're blocking linebackers that are coming in blitzing. Majority of the time they're blocking edge rushers, pass rushers that are coming in to sack the quarterback. So that's a tall task for an NFL running back to do. They're also asked to carry the ball a ton of times throughout the season. A lot of attempted carries can add up in a lot of mileage on the running backs' bodies. And I think that's one of the reasons why you only see a good 3 to 5 years in an NFL running back before the decline really starts. You have to be an effective pass catcher, and in the National Football League as an offensive pass catcher. So the NFL running backs are asked to do a tall task in an offense, and it's just they just get hurt. Mileage hits the bodies. It's just not worth it to me. But these are some examples of great running backs that have fallen off or unfortunately did not finish out their contracts once they got the big time deals that these three individual running backs got once upon a time ago. So Ezekiel Elliott, we saw that he was cut from the Dallas Cowboys and he was released 2 years into his 6-year $90 million extension. Once upon a time, Ezekiel Elliott was one of the best running backs in the National Football League, was a former 4th overall pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, former Ohio State Buckeye. But after Ezekiel Elliott's first 3 seasons in the National Football League, the downfall was there. He was a former 2-time rushing leader in the National Football League. The decline was there since 2019 when he put pen to paper for that big monumental contract. And 2 years into his $90 million deal, the Dallas Cowboys released him. Then another example is former Minnesota running back Dalvin Cook. he was cut 2 years into his 5-year, $63 million extension. We just saw that the Minnesota Vikings will be, he was cut by the Minnesota Vikings last week. And they're going to save a total of $11 million in cap space since Dalvin Cook will not be a part of the roster next NFL season. So, and they're looking to give their young running back more carry. So that's another example that it's not worth paying running backs. And then last but not least is Todd Gurley, former running back for the Los Angeles Rams and former running back for the Atlanta Falcons. Todd Gurley, hands down to me, was one of the best running backs in the National Football League over the past 5 to 6 years. And unfortunately is in retirement due to the fact that injuries caught up to him, mileage caught up to his body. But he was cut by the Los Angeles Rams 4 years before his 4-year extension ever began with the franchise. So it's just, to me, running backs, teams are looking to get the cheaper price elsewhere instead of paying big-time running backs. And those three guys that I just mentioned were great running backs. Some of the best running backs that we've seen over the last 5 to 7 years in the National Football League. But the thing is, none of those guys were ever traded. They were released, and like I just said, and teams didn't want to take them on in a trade. They'd pick up their big contracts, pick up the baggage that they could have came with them if they accepted a trade. The caps hit that would have been hit if those contracts were to go to teams that would have traded for those three individual running backs. So NFL teams know it's not really worth paying big-time contracts, and nowadays in the National Football League, you can find talented running backs in later rounds of the draft, and you can pay them on a cheap rookie contracts. It's rare that you see an NFL running back, college running back, really drafted in the first round. Prime example of running backs that are a running back that's previously been drafted in the first round is Najee Harris, running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was drafted in the first round 2021 NFL or 2022 NFL draft. Was it? No, 2021, excuse me, 2021 NFL draft. And he really hasn't met up to his standards of what he had when he was the running back for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And he just hasn't lived up to really his expectations, in my opinion, since he's been with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then, I think, no, there was two running backs, but it's rare to see a running back like drafted within the top 10 like Bijan Robinson was by the Atlanta Falcons. And it's just nowadays running backs just fall to the second round and beyond in NFL drafts. Now this is the way to get an NFL running back. You could get them in later rounds, pay them on cheap rookie contracts, and if you don't want to pay them the big bucks, move on to get another running back that you could get. They could give you a similar production in the later rounds of an NFL draft. But these are some prime examples that you do not need a star running back to win Super Bowls. In the National Football League, we're in a quarterback-driven league. More than anything, you need to pay more position play. You need to pay higher dollars to position players like a quarterback, wide receiver, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, pass rushers. They're more important to pay than an NFL running back at this particular moment. But these previous Super Bowl winners did not have a star running back to win the Super Bowl. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs this past NFL season. They won the Super Bowl with a 7th round running back in Isaiah Pacheco, who has been a great running back ever since he's played for the Kansas City Chiefs thus far. He even took the starting role of the running back position over former first round pick in Clyde Edwards-Helaire that the Kansas City Chiefs drafted in the 2020 draft. Then you look at the Los Angeles Rams when they won the Super Bowl in the 2021 draft. When they won the Super Bowl in the 2021 season, the Los Angeles Rams, they won the Super Bowl with a running back committee of Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. Then in 2020, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl with a running back committee of Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. So you don't need a star running back to win Super Bowls. Those three past Super Bowl winners have proved that. But is it good to have a star NFL running back on your roster if you can have one? Yes, I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, but it's just not worth paying them the big contracts. To me, the NFL running back price to me right now, and if I was an NFL general manager doing NFL running back, giving an NFL running back deal, I would give them nothing more than a 2 to 3 year contract, nothing more than a $30 million contract. And there's some running backs out there that want their bag, like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. They both are seeking new contracts. They both have refused to sign the franchise tag contracts because they want new running back contracts, and they both have not participated in minicamp thus far. Would I like to see both of these guys get paid? Yes, but at the right price, at the right cost. And I think right now, for NFL running backs, it's just not worth giving them a contract over 2 to 3 years, and definitely not anything over $30 million. But that's just how I feel about NFL running backs being paid at this particular moment in the National Football League. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode.